Hello guys, today we are going to talk about how to be sub 2 minutes on 5x5, one of my favorite WCA puzzles. I enjoy solving it. Before we get into this, please do not forget to subscribe. Let me know what you think of the video when it's over in the comments. I really appreciate that. It really helps out the channel and it's going to help me grow. But anyways, we're going to split this video into 4 parts. We're going to talk about centers, last 2 centers, edges, and last 4 edges. Those are the main parts where I have tips for you. I personally average about 120 on 5x5, so I can't speak for sub 1, but I can speak for sub 2 for sure. And I have some things that I could share to maybe help some people out, so I'd like to do that. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is centers. We're going to start here with this cube. I have it kind of set up to do centers. And the biggest thing is there's 3 main ways to solve centers. So you can build 2x1 blocks to make a 2x3 and then build the last edge. You can just build blocks of 3 like this and insert those where they need to go. Or there's a case called the T case, and we can set that up here. So it's where you have a T and then we find an edge. It'd probably be best to take this one if it's your first center, because then you could keep this block preserved, but then you would just flip like that to build the T, or you take the T and turn it into a 2x3 block. That's a neat trick if you can, if it's set up, or you can easily set it up. So I'll finish the blue center here. Where was that piece? Here. So you just finish this, insert this. Oh, insert this last bar. Another thing to talk about in your first center is if you can plan out your entire first center inspection, good for you. That is definitely helpful. If you can, without even thinking about it, build your first center, that's awesome. The next thing I'd like to look at, we can look at the second center here. We have some bars here already built, and I see this edge here. So you can do the building the 2x1 blocks until you have this 2x3, and then you can work on the last bar and insert that. And the other method that I was talking about was where you build bars like this. So you could build the first bar, second bar, third bar, put it in, and then you can complete the centers like so. This is where we get to last 2 centers. So actually I have a cube set up for last 2 centers, but I didn't really think that through. Now that we're here, we can talk about it. So here, what you want to do is we can build the 2x3 block in either way. Now, when you build this 2x3 block, after this is built here, and you're looking at the cube like this, where you have the top center that's not solved, and then you have a piece here, there is an algorithm for every single case like this. Some of them not worth it to learn, some of them definitely worth it to learn. And I think that's more for you to decide. You have to decide what works for you, but they're not too hard, like that one. Quick little algorithm. Don't even have to think about it once it's memorized, and it gets the piece where it needs to go and finishes your centers. So we can kind of maybe take a look at that here too. So this center is not too bad. Boom, we have this built. So there, you can solve this all with one alg. Boom. A lot of these would probably be rather intuitive, but there's some where it'd be useful to know the algs. And since I've set these cubes up, we might as well use them. Now we can talk about edges. Now, when you get to the edges stage, you generally want to look for the closest edge that's got the most solved. So we could look at this, where we could insert here, slice, this is solved. And then I see these 2 red and white pieces, and so I can get them set up, and then the last one's here. Now, this is where you get into a dilemma. You can store all of your first 4 edges on one face, and if you do this, it'll help eliminate rotations later. So I could insert this here, know this is here, put that in, and then we have to find the other piece. We'll have to rotate to find it, and then we rotate again to put the edge back down, and then we'd have to rotate to finish the next edge. But once you get these first 4 edges solved, no more rotations like this. You can just work on solving your edges. And when you're looking for edges to put in, like you see how here, I inserted this edge piece here because I know this is here once I looked. So that's an easy solve. And then here you see these 2. Another edge piece, another edge solved. And then I'm looking at this white and blue solved. And then you can just slice. Now these edges are all solved. So now at this point, you get to last 4 centers, or edges. And there's a bunch of things you could do. So you could do cycles, slice, flip, slice. There's a few algorithms you can use. So one of my favorite things is here we can set this up. If you have two edge pieces like this, and then the other one is like this, and it has to be so that all three are the same color on this side, you can do M, U2, M prime, and that solves that edge. And then we're left with a slice, flip, slice, and then this is like parity, so there's an algorithm for this. Boom. And that's the one thing I want to talk about too. When you get to the last 4 edges, when you get to the last 2, there's generally an algorithm to solve every case for the last 2. Now, some of those algorithms might not be as time effective as just solving it intuitively or slice, flip, slicing. But some of those algorithms are very useful to know, and I would recommend them. And anytime I talk about there being algorithms, I will be putting the links to the algorithms in the description, so feel free to check those out, learn some of those. They'll be very helpful. And I actually have this cube set up for another last 4 edges case. So this case, you have the stuff set up to do a cycle. Problem is you have this edge here. So what I would do is I would slice, flip, slice, and that sets up with 4 edges that need to be cycled. Now this one is the only one that is not flipped upright like this, so I'm going to pull this one out, and then I'm going to do a cycle for the first set, and then I can pull out the other one and do a cycle for the last set. And then you have all your edges done, and you can move to 3x3. And honestly, these might not be the most efficient ways to solve some of these things, but they will get you to Sub-2, which is where I'm assuming you'd like to be if you're watching this video. So let's talk about, we could do a few more edge cases just to kind of take a look at what we've done here. So I see these 3 yellow blues, and then I notice that we already have this blue and red set up, and we can see that this piece is here, so we can just insert like this, and now we have these 2 pieces set up. Now the other piece is here, so what I would do is I would just flip it, solve it. Now we have these 2, the yellows and greens. Now unfortunately, well, now that I flipped we see it, but we didn't know where it was. Now we do. We can finally stuff the last edge in the top layer there. One more flip and we're done flipping. We don't need to flip anymore. The cube, this edge, boom, insert, slice, and then we have I would probably go for this white and orange like this. Done. Then we can go for the green and orange. Just a quick slice, flip, slice. And then I see this yellow, orange. I know this piece is here, so I can insert, solve it. And then you see how I inserted this like this. What I would probably do is insert it like this, because we can preserve this block, and then we could flip this. And then when we slice back, we've actually built an edge and set us up for a nice last 3 edges. So we can do the move there. We can do the MU2M prime. And now we have a quick slice, flip, slice for our last edge. And then we're into 3x3. Another one, I'm going to talk about edges a little bit longer than everything else, because edges is kind of, at least for me, the part that takes the longest. We can pair this up, and then I see these orange and whites, and that's probably the best I see. I could see this possibly, so I could put this in, finish this edge, flip. Now I have this in, finish this. This piece is here, so we'd have to flip again. The general rule of thumb is if you have to flip more than once, it is not a good edge. It's not a good edge you want to do. And if you can help it while you're working on some other edges, it would be smart to try to break up that spot that's giving you the issue with more than one slice, flip, slice. This next edge here, we can slice here, insert this in the back. Boom, your edge is built. And then I would probably notice this and this, so we can put it in. Boom. Now we have these, but we also have this. I know that this piece is here. So what I could do is I could just solve this edge like this. And now I know this is here, so when I bring this back around to insert it, I'm going to insert it so that I can just slice this back over. Generally, you wouldn't want to do as many moves to solve an edge, but you're setting up an edge for a super easy solve that takes a few seconds tops, not even seconds, just a few moves. I think it's worth it to do that. Now in this case, you're stuck because this almost is perfect for an MU2M. So what you can do is, instead of working on that, you could probably try to find a way to flip this. And what I mean is, we can solve this, do some flipping around, so like so. And now we've set this up to do this. So we're just gonna start ignoring it, because now we can flip this. So we ignored it and set it up for a simpler cycles case. So now we can just decide how we want to start our cycles. So, and now we have 3 edges to solve. Boom. So you're not, sometimes when you get a case that's really close to that MU2M, you're not always going to want to do it, because like I said, this piece was flipped. It was easier just to ignore it and set up a good cycles. And that those cycles might have been slow, but admittedly, I'm not the best at cycles. So, again, this is a video to get sub-2, not world class. So, I have a few overall general tips for the entire solve, not just one specific place in a solve. And one of them is, when you practice, don't be afraid to turn slow. Because, for example, let's scramble this up. Sure, okay, it's scrambled. Now, when I turn slow, I can remember where pieces are better. So I can see this is here, so I can follow it. And now you know where all of these pieces are for this last part. And then while you were doing that, you could have been tracking these pieces. You have all of these pieces, so finish that. Finish that bar, and then you have this last one with this piece here. And because you were turning slow, you've been tracking everything. So now we know that this is all like this. And like, you're able to track this the whole time. So you watch this piece go here when you put this up, and you know this is here. This can only be in 1 or 2 spots, and it ends up being in a decent spot. So you solve that. And while you were doing that, you were paying attention to what was going on over here a little bit and what pieces you were sending this way. So now I know I have this, so I can set this up, build that. And while I was finishing that, I was tracking what was going on here. So I know that I can make an easy bar here if I do this, and then you can set up your case for your last algorithm to finish this last, or the intuitive method. So basically, you know, you want to turn slow when you practice so that you can practice your look ahead. And especially once you're learning some of the algorithms for like those neat little cases, you have time to think about it and execute it properly and reinforce that good muscle memory before you try to execute it quickly. Because I know personally, if I'm working on an algorithm and I mess up the execution quickly, because I didn't practice it slow, it's going to continue to mess me up because I'm going to start getting frustrated. So you might be able to save yourself some frustration if you practice like that, because you're not going to be messing up your algorithms if you practice them slow first. And that also gives you an opportunity to practice your recognition as well, because sometimes when you're turning really fast, unless you're very well versed in your recognition, it can be hard to recognize some of your cases right away. So those are just a few good reasons to do the turn slowing thing. Again, like I said, I think it's useful to learn some of the last 2 edges and last 2 center algorithms. I think that they can be quite useful. And there are some that you're going to try out and you're going to start to test, and you're going to be like, these suck. And that's okay, because there are some that suck where the intuitive case is better. And that's kind of for you to figure out and what your preference is and what you'd like to do. And so, you know, keep all of that in mind when you practice some of those things. Like I said, I'm going to link the algorithms down below so you can see which ones you'd like to do, which ones you think you wouldn't like. Some of them are very helpful, especially the parity ones on the last 2 edges, because some of those cases, there's an intuitive way to solve it, but it just takes a long time. And the algorithm would definitely be quicker. But anyways, yeah, if you like this video, let me know what you think in the comment. Tell me what you average on 5x5 in the comments, and if any of these tips were helpful to you. And yeah, please don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.